Teams meeting, so she may ask you to mute yourself if at any point there's some. We will start here in just a minute. I'm getting ready to get us started. Just wanted to make sure everybody could hear me. Chairman, are you ready to start? I think we're right on time. Okay. Thank you. Give me just a second. Are we? We're on. Thank you. Go right ahead.
This meeting of the Tennessee Cosmetology and Barber Board of Examiners is called to order. I think our first order of business will be to have a roll call to establish quorum.
Thank you very much, Chairman Gillihan, and welcome to everybody. By roll call vote, if I could go ahead and when I read your name, just let me know that you are here. Miss Anita Charlton? Here. Frank Gambusa? Not here. Ron Gillihan?
Here. Monica
Lemons? Here. Judy McAllister is not here. David McElreath?
Here.
Thank you. Jeffrey Moran? Here. Thank you. Patricia Parsons? Here. Lane Petty? Here. Kimberly Ray, apologize, no longer on our board. Becky Russell? Here. Thank you. Mona Sappenfield is not with us today, and Ms. Tanksley is not with us. We have a total of 8 board members. Thank you very much for being here. So we have quorum. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you here.
Thank you very much. It's our custom here to start off with acknowledging our guests and visitors in school. So thank you all for being here. I know we have a school representative. We could have one of you from the school just kind of stand and let us know who you are and what school you're with. Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy the meeting today, and we appreciate you taking part in that. The next order of business today would be to approve the February 2023 minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions that we need to make?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, Ms. Roxana.
Thank you very much. The next item is, as the board is aware, we are still have active legislative session going on, any bills that could be introduced or those that are in the pipeline. So I will let Hugh Cross, our attorney, just update us on any changes, and then we'll proceed from there.
Good morning. For the bills, the only one that I presented at the last board meeting that's still moving forward that I'm aware of is Senate Bill 93, and that's the eyelash specialist license. That one, I'm not entirely sure if it is moving forward, but there was an amendment a few weeks ago that had a lot of substantial changes, and there was a bill analysis conducted on it. The amendment hasn't moved forward that I've seen, so I'm not entirely sure if the original bill, if they're going to go back to the original bill, or if the amendment's going to move forward again, but I'll keep you updated if something changes on that. And also I wanted to mention the rules regarding the equipment waiver. I've discussed a few times with the Attorney General's office. That's where they are currently. They should be coming pretty soon. So my understanding is they will be approved. So I don't have an exact date on that, but it should be coming pretty soon. So hopefully by the next meeting. And the only other thing I want to mention was, at the last board meeting, there was federal legislation that was discussed, and I just want to point out that we need to be a little careful about. You can bring it up as the board. I want to advise and caution that we don't want to advocate for either side, because you essentially want to defer to the legislature. But that's all I wanted to mention. So, and that's all I have. If you have any other questions, let me know.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Hugh today? Okay. Ms. Roxana?
Thank you, sir. We will proceed on your iPads, as well as the presentation that was uploaded to SharePoint for you to be able to review if you had the time and wish to do so before the meeting. You have, I believe we've got 7 schools before us. Most of them, I think, are participating virtually, so I'll make sure to give us plenty of time for them to unmute themselves. On your iPads, our first item starts on page 3, and this is Lynn's Academy of Cosmetology and Barber. Ms. Acerlian Sanders is participating with us. This school is a licensed cosmetology apprenticeship school. They've been licensed in September 2022. The school is located in Memphis. This is for a new barber apprenticeship school. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were received timely. And Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. This is Lynn's Academy, correct?
That is correct.
Who do we have online with Lynn's Academy this morning?
Sanders, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. If you don't mind, could I have you tell us a little bit about your school?
Yes, my name is Acerlian Sanders. I'm the proud owner of Lynn's Academy of Cosmetology that I opened up in September. I hit the grand open September of 2022. And I'm just excited to be doing cosmetology, anything that's dealing with the cosmetology field. We're just ready to get the barbering program. People are calling and wanting to engage in the barbering program.
An apprentice program, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this done in-house, or is this going to be a virtual type school?
Virtual.
Okay. I'm going to kind of go down my little note list here, my checklist, so pardon me if it seems a little bit out of order, perhaps, with the information you have. It's just the order my checklist comes in. Okay. In your package, of course, you indicate you have a contingency plan for teach-out possibilities. Do you have any existing agreements already in place for that, or your language says you're going to have teach-outs, but do you actually have an arrangement already with the school?
Yes.
Okay. And it's a similar type school where they could do the apprenticeships and do it virtually?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Chairman Gillihan, could I interrupt you?
Yeah, sure.
Only because we have everyone participating virtually. The apprenticeship school, your question is, are they online? I believe what the board has said to prior apprenticeship schools or even the full or traditional schools is the online, as long as it also includes some virtual synchronous teaching at the same time and in person, is what we are referring to. So at Correct. This point, there is no school that is strictly online. I want to.
Correct.
Okay. And so, Ms. Sanders, I want to make sure that you're understanding that as well, that it is not 100% online for the theory hours.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that.
We get a lot of questions, and so if there's ever a change and we need to have that conversation, I want to make sure we're pretty clear. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I understand when I'm looking at that, but I know a lot of folks don't, so thank you. On page 9 of your documents, and I believe it's page 15 on our iPads, you have information about 50% of your course is online. And again, this goes to what Ms. Roxana was saying here, that it's 50% of the theory portion is to be delivered online. So can you tell me a little bit about what you envision that as being?
Okay. When you look at the enrollment agreement on page 1, it tells even though it's 50% online, they can still come to class with their laptop or their iPad and still can do, we still in class and they still do their theory online while they are in class as well. But on page 1 on the enrollment agreement, where it says 21.5 weeks, 700 hours hybrid, and once a week assessment in classroom or online. So that's what that consists of.
Okay. The online portion of yours, is that synchronous or asynchronous? Do you understand what I'm asking for that?
No, sir, I don't understand.
In the online portion of yours, is it, are you monitoring at all times, such as a Zoom type production? I'm just using that as a generic kind of thing.
Yes.
Or are, so the students are supervised at all times while they're in your training?
Right, yes, sir. Zoom, we normally do team, but yeah, Zoom is also will be available as well.
Can you tell me something about your time tracking? On our page 17, members, I believe your information is talking about having multiple tabs opened at one time. Are you suggesting that folks can have multiple tabs online so that perhaps they could double up on their hours?
You can't actually, what happens is on my agreement, they only can do at least 35 hours a week according to the contract. Now, if they do over 35 hours a week, they understand it's in my it's in the curriculum here, that not curriculum, catalog. They understand any hours over 35 hours a week, that's just extra work that they doing to help them, to prepare them to take their state board test. So it's just really, that's something that they doing on their own. But yes, SEMA, they have it where you can calculate all the time in, which I have to add. They need to change that because I have to go in there and add up all those hours. So they working on making it better for the teachers to be able to come up with a better system.
How are you monitoring those classes all day? 35 hours, if you have people doing multiple types of schedules, are you saying that if they're more than 35 hours, they're not going to receive credit for those on that week?
No, if it's over 35, it's according to the curriculum, they understand any hours over 35 hours is just them going in there reviewing, taking quiz, they are taking tests, they just constantly familiarizing themselves with what in the book, in the ebook, so they can be better prepared when they come and take their theory tests.
In your paperwork, you've mentioned, I believe, offering 45 credit hours. What credential are you trying to offer that you're offering credit hours as opposed to clock hours?
What page are you on?
I don't have that noted on my note.
Let's see.
Page 13, I believe. For us.
Page 7.
Page 7. I don't see that on page 7. On page 8, I have the 35 hours a week.
It's page 7 of your enrollment agreement, the apprenticeship student and then supervising licensed professional. I wonder if that's just a copy and paste from the rules?
Yes, more likely, more so. Let me see.
In your documents, I noticed that you do not have a method and a backup method listed for how you log the hours. I understand electronically sometimes it generates the hours, but you need to have your methodology, whether it's time clocks, time stamps, and the backup. Are you doing a paper backup? Are you doing a secondary type of electronic backup as a requirement for making sure you have a backup in case hours are lost or the method is damaged?
I normally write them down. Yes, sir. I add them up. Paper backup.
You also don't have any policies or statements regarding tracking your part-time versus your full-time students and keeping those things separate?
Well, actually, all of it's full-time,
So you're not going to offer any part-time?
not at the moment.
Do we have any other questions from the members?
I have a few questions. So on our page 7, let me get to that so I can tell you what it is on your page. Your page 1, you've got 45 weeks and 25 or 21.5 hours a week. Anyway, you've got that for theory as well as practical, which adds up to 1,849 hours. So I have a question about, is that really what your students would be required to do? Or is that something that you plan to change to match the 1,500 hours?
It should add up to the 1,500 hours unless there's a typo there.
It says full-time weeks, full-time.
What page?
It's your page number 1.
Okay, I got you.
It says full-time 43 weeks, 21.5 hours a week for theory, 21.5 weeks for practical, and if you do that math, it ends up to 1,849.
Okay, this is how I did. I took the 43 weeks times 43 weeks times, I think 35 a week. It came up to 1,505 on my end. So I took the 43 weeks, the full times 35 hours a week, and it came to 1,505.
All right, I would have you just double check those numbers and see if that works out. I think the way that it is worded makes it appear that they would be spending more than 1,500 hours in school. We're going to move on. Your page number 6, hour 12. Maybe I've got our page wrong. I'm sorry. Yes, it is our page 12. You have...
Okay, which page I need to be on?
It is your page 6.
Mm-hmm.
The hours do not work according to the curriculum outlined by the state board. So your hours here don't exactly fit. You have it correct on page 7, where you have just copied and pasted from the board's website. So I would suggest you just take out page 6.
Take page 6 out? Okay. This
So
whole
it's
page?
almost like you wrote what you want to do, and then on page 7 you put in what the board requires that you do. So just take out page 6 and stick with the requirements of the board.
Take out page. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Got it.
You also mentioned somewhere, let's see, multiple time tracker issues. So going back to what Ron had talked about, one of the things that you say is that you need the students to clock out at the end of the day. If they don't, how will you be able to record their hours accurately?
If they don't clock out, what page is that on here? I can Sigma will I can always call them. It's just kind of making sure they know to clock out, to keep that in front of them. Clock out, because a lot of times they'll forget. So if you just keep that in front of them, they'll know to clock out. But Sigma, they have a way of going in there and looking at the time. Hello?
It states that the student must clock out at the end of the day. I'm just concerned that if the student does not clock out at the end of the day, how would you know when they actually stopped working?
If they do not clock out at the end of the day, well, normally if they, okay, 15 minutes, it's going to clock them out anyway. When you on Sigma, within 15 minutes, they not active, it's going to automatically clock out anyway. So they have to go back and restart again.
Know that they have been clocked out?
Ma'am?
Would the student then know that they had been clocked out?
Yeah, because it'll indicate to them they have to log back in.
Okay. My question, I guess, is if I were reading paragraphs of information and it took me longer than 15 minutes to read those paragraphs of information, if your system clocked them out, would it shut down their screen so that they would know that they were no longer on the clock, or would they be still maybe reading without being on the clock?
No, you can't read. It would not operate. The system would not operate. They have to continue to be active. They have to touch the mouse. They have to hit a key on the keyboard. It has to keep going. If it don't keep going, if they don't be active within 15 minutes, it's gonna automatically clock them out, where it'll automatically go off, where they have to go back in and log themselves back in again.
Enrollment agreement, but another document that you're going to give to your students, page 13 matches page 6 that we ask you to get rid of. It's the one where you're doing the breakdown rather than the board's breakdown. So page 13 would also need to be removed.
Which one is 13? I don't see a 13.
This is the student catalog, I think.
Correct.
You said
In
page 13?
Yes. It matches your page 6 in the enrollment agreement.
Okay. 13, where it says Barber 1,500 hours, theory, history, and career opportunity. History.
Yes, those clock hours that you have there do not match the state board's clock hours.
Okay. So take out.
So, yes.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
And the, let's see, the last note that I have for this is, on our page 38, it says books and supplies and gives an amount that, that you're charging for books and supplies. We do not have a problem with you charging for books and supplies, but somewhere previously, you had said in the document, and I'm not even sure where that was at, but I put quotation marks around mine that they would be furnished with this, and it did not allude to the fact that they would be purchasing it. So just make sure that they understand that the student must purchase their kit rather than you will furnish it, because you furnishing it makes it sound like you're going to give them something.
Yeah, I do. I mean, let me see. What page? Let me go back. What page is this on? Let's see.
It's the last page of your catalog.
Last page of this catalog.
And you can charge the students for their books and supplies, but you need to make sure that everywhere in your catalog, they understand that they will be purchasing their books and kits or books and supplies, not that you will furnish them.
I might be able to help on that one just a little bit. On page 1 of her enrollment agreement, in the table she has here where it outlines enrollment fee, books and kids, tuition, miscellaneous, et cetera. There's a place there that could be written in, but I absolutely agree it needs to be consistent all the way through. Okay.
I'm trying to see the wording she said I have here so I can know where to look at.
I'm not sure where I read. Oh, hang on a second. Let's see. I think it's our page 25. Give me just a second to get there. Okay, on your page 6, it says students who are enrolled in the program are furnished smock smock or T-shirt, e-books, and kit. But it doesn't say that they're paying for those. It says that you furnish them.
Page.
So I just wanted to make sure that they will understand that they are paying for those instructional materials.
See, my page is totally off from your page, and I still don't see it.
On page 6,
Is it? Is
Sanders,
it
Your
Well-
enrollment agreement, if you will go to your enrollment agreement, your document's in the exact order that theirs is. Go to the document that's final, and it's page 6 of your enrollment agreement.
the top of this page says instructional materials.
Mm.
And members, if you're okay with these changes, maybe we can let Ms. Sanders find her documents and make sure that they come to me if there is a vote to proceed. Otherwise, it can be presented at the next meeting. That would be your choice, but I don't have a problem following up with these pieces.
Instructional material. I see students who are enrolled in the program are furnished smock or T-shirt, e-book, and kit. Now, what was the concern with that?
She can't hear you.
Hello? Hello?
It's not working. Try your other one, Becky.
I would like for you to change the statement to say that the students must or may, whichever one you're going to require, must purchase these items or may purchase these items if you're going to allow them to purchase them elsewhere. But it needs to say they must or may purchase.
Okay. Instead of saying furnish. Okay. All right.
Do we have any other comments or questions from the members? Good. Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
A second.
We have a motion to approve with the noted changes. We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I have a motion by Mr. Jeffrey Moran and a second by Monica Lemons, and all in favor. Ms. Sanders, I will let you make those final updates and then email them to me sometime in the next few days. And this will be with a field inspector inspection only. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we will turn over to your iPad starting on page 39. This is Dream Academy, a change in location. And I know Ms. Harding has had a situation come up where she'll need to leave us, so I'm glad we are at her item. Ms. April Harding is participating virtually. This is a change of location, which was presented to the board February 2023 and approved. During the scheduled inspection, the field inspector learned that the school was located in the basement of Ms. Harding's home. The application, original floor plan, incomplete inspection, and some photographs are presented for the board members to review. Given that there are no schools located inside homes at this point in Tennessee, and that was information I knew I didn't have, and therefore the board members did not have. Mr. Hugh and I discussed this and decided that the members needed to look at this and ask any questions you have so that we can proceed. And I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you, Roxana. Of course, as I'm looking at this, the photographs that I see bring quite a few concerns for me, you're exactly right. We don't have any schools and homes. I believe that seeing this, the facility is woefully inadequate. Of course, on what we have here, we don't have any policies and things as a represent. My opinion on this is that the board should not allow this change of address. Did you say we had previously?
We had
Been presented.
approved them based on the floor plan that you have on your iPads, and if you give me a minute, I flipped too fast. On your iPads on page 41 of our document is the floor plan we approved. Obviously, this doesn't put in perspective where it is. Hugh can give us some guidelines on, you know, if of course this is allowed, and we've had conversations, but the field inspection was not able to be completed. My hope had been that everything would be operational and perfect, ready to go. But because it was not finished all the way, it was also kind of put on hold, and in any case was going to be presented to you to discuss.
I make a motion to deny because of the inadequate facilities and inspection.
And if I could ask a question, I'm sorry to interrupt the motion. By inadequate facilities, we probably need to, is it because it's located in the basement and in a home, or how do we define that?
The learning space is divided from an actual occupied garage with automobiles by curtain. I believe that would not present sufficient sanitation or safety for the approval. You may have chemicals in that garage. You may have certainly exhaust from automobiles. The more appropriate route here potentially could be to table this or to deny it either outright, as the board would deem fit. The evidence that's presented here does not appear to me to be safe. It would not meet any standards of sanitation that I would have any expectation of.
Thank you for the added information, Chairman Gillihan.
I second the motion.
We have a motion to.
Can I talk, or can I speak?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please let me hear from you.
And this is Ms. April Harding, the owner. Thank you, Ms. Harding.
Okay, I have, to be honest, no, I did not want to have to bring my school home. I have been in search when I had to relocate from my building that I was in because that building was sold from under me. I've been working so hard and diligently since June of trying to find another location. I'm just fortunate enough that I have the space in the downstairs instead of saying the basement of my home. It's not a basement because this is not a basement type facility. I have a downstairs that is like a whole different living quarters in my home that is over 2,000 square feet. The garage that you speak of, it does have a car that is separate on the other side, but that car does not work. That car does not start. That car is really a storage area on the other side. I have all those areas partitioned off. I have everything that the requirements say that is needed within the guidelines of the state board to operate a school. I have the square footage. I have the equipment. I have everything. Speaking of the things that he said was not ready when he came were small things. Like, I mean, I was up so hard and I have just been working so hard trying to get things in place. I didn't have my cotton balls on the table. I didn't have my sign written out that said work must be performed by students, but I had all these things there. I was approved for a school before, and all these things I had to take and move and bring to my location were probably still packed away. So I told Mr. Stanley, I said, I can have the things out and put up and the sign wrote out and all these things ready, even by in an hour. It was just the fact that they weren't done. I was just working so hard trying to get all my important things taken care of and completed before he came for the inspection, that some of the things did get overlooked, but I have all my equipment. I have all the things that they say that are needed. So to say that I don't have adequate space, I have 2 separate entrances. I have 2 separate bathrooms that are not part of my home at all. No one comes into my home, period, to come into this school. I am more of a preparatory program where I want to be a mentor to young girls and guys that want to become cosmetology professionals. So my goal is not to ever really exceed. If honestly, if I can reach one student, that's my job. If I can reach 1 to 5, that's my job. So all I wanted to do, I mentored anyways, and I go out and I talk to students and stuff within my community, but all I can't do is give hours. So when I even approached Miss Roxana several years ago before I even opened up my school, I wanted to know how could I, do an apprenticeship with that.
Ms. Harding,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know my home, he's saying that it's not adequate and it's not sanitary. I have everything that a salon or a school can have.
Excuse me, Ms. Harding. This is Chairman Gillihan. I have a question for you here. Pardon me for interrupting you, but I have a couple of questions for you here.
Yes, sir.
What was your stated teach-out agreement in your previous school? Since this is a change of location, you had a teach-out agreement or a teach-out policy in the previous. I'd like to know what that is and how that was followed in this case.
Well, see, I didn't have what.
One moment. Let me complete if I could. Also, just to clarify, whenever your application was authorized here at the board, it is always pending inspection by our state inspectors, and it appears to us that you did not successfully pass that inspection.
Well, he didn't. To be honest, and I'll be fair.
Let's talk about your previous submitted teach-out agreement. What were the terms of that teach-out agreement?
Are you speaking of when I was originally open and passed at the prior location?
Correct. Whenever your facilities became unavailable there, you would have had a teach-out agreement
I didn't have any students to notify at the time, so that part did not really follow. I didn't have anything to actually do. But I did notify. I did notify everything. I took everything down off my website. So we weren't taking any students. I was not taking any students in. Just like before, so there was nothing
Ms.
to
Harding?
transfer to give notice. Yes.
that was not his question. Give him a minute so
Right.
you can hear the question.
What I'm asking you is, in your previous location, in the documents that you would have submitted to the state board, you would have had a policy or a teach-out plan that would have stated, in the event that you lost your location or your
Right.
school had to close or be rearranged in some way, that you would have had any students transferred to a different school.
Right.
You would have brought them into the new place. Under any circumstances, the number of students you have enrolled at a given time is not really relevant to what I'm asking here. It's really more about, did you follow the policy that you would have had written, and that would have protected any potential students, and you would have already had this kind of worked out. In this scenario, again, your inspection was had, and you did not successfully meet the requirements of that inspection. I couldn't tell if there was still construction going on. It looked like there were things that were open and exposed with woodwork and potentially other things. It's hard to tell some of these in the photographs. But really, my question is addressing, did you follow your closeout or teach-out policy?
Yes, I did.
We have these things.
Yes, sir. Yes, I did. When I found out that I had to move and I had to relocate, I reached out. I reached out to Roxana. I was telling her, because actually I've done this. This has been going on actually since October, but the things have been put on hold and passed on. So I was hoping that I would have been ready and had me a location to move to by December. So this I have been doing this and had given notice way back in October.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from any of the board members? Okay. Does our attorney have anything he wants to add to this?
Well, I just want to make sure, are you denying based on, I just want to make sure why it's being denied. I think I'm a little unclear on that, because I'm looking at the statute, 624135 or 125, and it has the requirements in there. So if it's the fact that it's in a residence, that's sort of, I don't know if that's what you're looking at or not, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear on why it's being denied.
I think I'd come back to the inspection report here. The inspection report.
And can I
that
speak on that too,
that I'm
please?
looking at the inspection report that I'm looking at here appears to be.
Can I speak on that, please?
If you could hold on, they've got an image of the inspection sheet. Let's let the members look at it, and it is considered an incomplete inspection, not just with minor things though, Ms. Harding. So let's let them look at that, and our attorney's going to guide us.
The items listed that are necessary for the school are not checked. Okay.
Okay, if it's based on the inspection, then I just wanted to make sure that that's what because the board has the authority to do that. I just wanted to make sure.
The inspection would not have been complete because he was coming back. So that's where I feel like that's not fair to me, because he told me that he said, April, I will come back. And to make sure that all these things, because he told me when he came that he was not here to approve my school to begin with. He was only here to get pictures. Those were the words out of his mouth. So that's not fair to say that he came to pass me when he did not. He told me he was not coming to pass me. He could not pass me. He was coming to get pictures because they did not know what it looked like to have a school and a home. So he came to do his job. So he was coming back to inspect me again.
Ms.
So now
Harding,
you're going to deny. Okay.
No,
Okay.
if I could interrupt, because an inspection can happen again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But the inspector would not just go unless it's a coordinated inspection. A school inspection is a one-time inspection when you and the inspector agree on a date and time. And so this is considered the inspection this particular individual went to do, thinking of getting everything perfect, which was the goal. That way the members today would be debating a perfectly inspected everything there. And this inspection shows everything was not there. I believe the motion, and we have, and I'll make sure that I've got it right, we have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Ms. Monica Lemons to deny based on this inspection. Am I correct, Chairman Gillihan?
That is correct. And to further put a fine point on that, I'm looking at a photograph that has the drainage from a sink, that the drain hose is just open to the floor. I see some electrical issues just from photographs.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't know what you're talking of. Can you please explain that? That's not.
Okay.
The field inspector submitted many photographs. I only kept a few on the iPad because the inspection sheet itself shows the items missing, Ms. Harding, and I can go over those at a later time as well, but that inspection sheet does list.
Yeah, I don't have anything that's drained going into the floor, ma'am. I don't have anything like that. All of my sinks are hooked up like they're hooked up in a salon. I don't have any sinks going into the floor.
If you could make sure that your mic, David, is red, press that speak.
May I call the question?
Absolutely. The question's been called. Are we ready for a vote? Is there further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will proceed. Go ahead. Chairman Gillihan, are we ready for our
We
next
are ready
application?
for the next.
Okay, thank you. Next on your iPads, members, is a change in location, and let me get to our page. Skin and Brow starts on page 55. I'll give everyone a minute. This is a change in location for an apprenticeship aesthetic school. The members will recall that this was presented at the December meeting. We had a field inspector and board member go to that inspection, and since then, Ms. Jessica West has changed her business plan to make this an apprenticeship-only aesthetic school. The original plan and lengthy conversation at the December meeting was for this to be a full traditional aesthetic school, but it is now apprenticeship-only. The floor plan is revised for you to review. And so the field inspector and board member, as I said, based on the floor plan that the board had approved, that did not meet the requirements by statute. So this business plan has changed. Ms. West is available on the call. She did have a flight, so if she is not, I'm happy to try to answer any questions on her behalf, and I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you very much, Ms. West. Appreciate you being here, and we'll try to be mindful of your time. As I'm looking through your documents, my first question that comes out is I was not able to locate your contingency plan for teach out possibilities. Can you tell me where that's located?
Ms. West, are you on the call with us? Okay. She was traveling today. I don't know if we want to skip her application and come to the end, or if you have any other questions. Her teach out, basically, you mean her contingency
For
plan?
contingency plan,
Yeah.
yes.
She was using, when we presented her in December, the teach out from her original point in time. And so now that it's apprenticeship, it would probably need to be changed, but I don't believe that she's revised it. She's revised, I think, her catalog and enrollment agreement to meet her plan to be apprenticeship only.
You know what, just in the interest that if she may be able to join us shortly after, we'll come back to her.
Okay.
And we'll move on.
Perfect. Your next school application starts on page 79, board members. This is Minks and Company. Ms. Rachel Humphrey should be on the call participating with us. This school, very similar to Skin and Brow. This is a specialty natural hair styling school. Her business plan was presented at the December board meeting. There was a ownership situation between two different schools. She was opening as a traditional school, but documents were going to need to be updated because her business plan had changed to be the sole owner and not partner with a barber school. Since then, she has presented a new plan to be apprenticeship natural hairstyling only. So these are her updated documents, and her business plan should include the fact that this is apprenticeship only. So I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I missed her name.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you're here. Come forward, please. Thank you. Humphrey, thank you for joining us in person today. We're going to take just a moment to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about your school.
Okay, I'm opening an apprentice-only natural hair school, same location, but just the back of the building. I've done some renovations to the space to separate one business from another, and turned the exit door into an entryway and added some signage. The landlord cleared the back space and added parking, so the other businesses as well in the strip mall have, I guess, also taken advantage of using the back of the strip mall for their business as well. So I thought it would be a good idea for me to take advantage of it, using the back of the building.
Is your program going to be in person, or are you looking at a virtual?
Oh, yes, it is in person. However, each lesson will be recorded. So if they were to miss a class, because I want to be strict on the time, 300 hours should be completed within the 12 weeks. So I didn't want a lot of excuses. I didn't want to deal with having to charge for extended hours. So there are 5 days for the theory portion, 5 days, 5 hours of classroom time will be recorded and posted each day. So if they were to miss, then they have the opportunity to see the lesson virtually.
After they've already attended in person?
Well, they have the option, if they miss, to see the lesson virtually. But I will encourage them to show up to the class.
Tell me about your virtual platform.
So it's Thinkific, and Thinkific is the platform. I like it because you can also incorporate Zoom and do live and record and post.
Is that an asynchronous program so they can just come and go into that as they wish or as they need to?
Yes, so I can do both. I can be live there with them on Zoom, or they can click through it themselves. It also keeps track of time, how long they're on the program.
So when they're asynchronous, whenever they're on their own, how are they being monitored?
Well, the in-person class that we do from 9 to 2 is 5 hours. So when the lesson is uploaded, it's a 5-hour course. They have to complete the whole amount of time. If they don't go through, they can't click through it, if that makes sense. So I'll be able to track how long they're, on the course. If they're not interacting with the course, it will log them off. I'm not sure how long the inactivity timer is, but like I said, they can't click through it. It'll stop if they're inactive, and then they have to pick back up. So they have to finish Monday's lesson before they can go to Tuesday's lesson.
I think my question really is more to how are you actually monitoring them? Or if I want to come online at 3 a.m. in the morning, what is my access to an instructor at that moment in time?
They can't access me at 3 a.m. No.
You have another licensed instructor who's available to them, because students are supposed to be directly supervised by instructors at all times.
Okay. There is another instructor. They can view the lesson, but they're encouraged between 2 and 7 o'clock. So.
But they do have the option otherwise.
To view the lesson.
Okay.
Yes.
What is your security process here, or your verification process, so that if Miss Lemons over here is one of your students and she wants to go on virtually at 2 in the morning to acquire her class time, how are you able to ensure that she's the person doing that, and I'm not just up late at night and I'm doing it for her?
Okay, that's a good question. I may have to add some sort. I may have to add something.
I asked that specifically because that's a typical problem that we usually encounter with asynchronous type programs. There is no way currently, or most schools don't have the staff and the ability to have someone actually actively monitoring who is in that course if you're doing a virtual class. And I'll use, again, Zoom as that kind of a format. If you're doing that, you have the ability to look. The instructor can see who's on the other end of that camera, so you can ensure that that's the person who's enrolled. They're doing their work, and they're being accountable there. Asynchronous programs, I think we typically have an issue with those because there is not that ability to be accountable and to so far be presented in a way that can be ensurative that student actually has an instructor who's supposed to be directly supervising them and working with them while they're there.
Okay. I will say, if you look through the program, virtual is not really my business plan. It is encouraged for them to be in person. It's more of like a contingency.
Yes. Things tend to slide those ways if that's contingencies out there, though.
Right. Because it is natural hairstyling, and it's an apprenticeship program, 300 hours is a very short amount of time to get a lot of the techniques in, and I want to ensure that, one, they can pass the theory at the 150-hour mark, and then that when they're in the care of someone else is in the salon under the supervised professional, that they know what they're doing.
Sure.
I do want them to be in the classroom. The recorded portion is just so that they have, I guess, just because I know people miss a lot of hours and they have a lot of excuses, and it's mostly women and people have things come up with children and that type of thing. It was more of like a backup plan. But that is a good point. I'll have to figure out how to keep them. I will be able to tell when they're logging on. And so I may have to add something in the business plan to make sure that those hours don't count.
Let me ask a couple more questions here. I do have some things in your documents. I did not locate, or perhaps I just didn't understand your teach-out plan. Can you tell me what your contingency plan is in the case of closure?
It was the virtual.
You would move
And
them
then
to virtual
after-
and continue that yourself?
Yeah, so if I do it, if it's strictly virtual, it will be the 9 to 2. It'll be, I would be online with them.
I did not locate your school's written policy on whether you accept transfer credit hours. Where would that be?
I do not. It's in there. Let me see. Enrollment agreement.
I didn't locate that at all, but if you know where that is, if it's in there, we can move on. If it's not, my note is that we didn't have it. On page 1 of your enrollment agreement, it appears you've got a little bit of a conflict there, because in your admission requirements, you're saying that they must have a 10th grade education or the equivalent, and then directly below that is proof of high school or equivalent. I'm going to kind of look at that and presume that you're saying that proof of high school is the 10th grade, not a full diploma for graduation, correct?
Those are the documents. That's just a checklist for the documentation. So I was just saying that I would need the either the diploma or transcript.
Proof of 10th grade.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. In your documentation, I did not find a direct reference to your policy that refunds would be issued within 45 days of the last attendance.
Your refund policy is on your page 4, but the statement that it must be paid back to the student within 45 days is not there. I think is what Chairman Gilliam has noted.
That page 4 of the enrollment agreement.
Yes.
Diane, is it? Sorry, page 86 of her refund policy.
Did you say something?
I think that it states it within a 3-day cancellation, but not necessarily anything beyond that.
Right.
No later than 45 days of receiving the notice of cancellation, the school shall provide 100% refund.
It's saying if they're giving you notice within the 3 days, but you're not saying that if a refund is due, that they're going to receive their refund from you within 45 days.
Okay, so it needs to be changed, saying that.
There are 2 others, policies that are required policies that I was not able to find. One is your method and your backup method for actually logging hours. I know you mentioned some virtual things here, but how are you actually going to log their time, and what is your backup method for that? And that is not in your documents that you presented. And as well, I noticed that I did not find a policy stating how you're going to track part-time and full-time students and to keep those records separate.
I have a couple of notes for you as well. I'm a little confused as to the timing that the students will be there. On your page 2, it's hour 84. It does state the hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8, Saturday, 8 to 2. It says that their minimum hours of attendance is 30 hours a week, but during what of those hours would they be required to attend? So are those 2 separate classes? I'm not sure if those are full-time hours. It obviously adds up to more than 30 hours a week.
What page are you on?
It's your page 2.
Okay,
I'm just a little unclear about when the students should be in school.
I think that you all have the original documents from.
They have the final document that you confirmed they should be looking at.
Okay. So,
This is not a terrible thing. You can fix it. We just need to be, we just need to know, and we need the students to know when they would be expected to be in class. That is a lot of hours that you are open per week, which doesn't reflect 30 hours. We also need that if you're open that many hours, you've kind of stated that their minimum hours of attendance are 30, which kind of alludes to the fact that they could get more than 30, but there is a maximum according to what the rules state that they can have. So if you will allow them to get more than 30, that's okay, but they need to know that they can't go over the maximum allowable.
okay. So the last meeting that I presented, everything that you all are bringing up are all changes that I had to make the last time. And so when I presented to Roxana, all new paperwork, and Roxana? Okay. She submitted an email and she said, okay, this is all the new paperwork. Look over everything, make sure everything is correct. And I replied to the email, oh no, this is all the old paperwork. And here's all the new paperwork. And then she, oh, okay, thank you for bringing that to my attention. You know, okay, I'll turn in the new paperwork. You all have the old paperwork. And I
So
can
can you
pull up
explain
the
to me-
email, because what you all are reading and what I have is two completely, because you're reading me the old changes that I was supposed to make.
So can you explain to me what the new paperwork says as far as what time the students are supposed to be in school and how that adds up to 30 hours more or less?
The new school is an apprenticeship school, and so it's not 30 hours. I have 150 hours in the school, and then 150 hours under the supervision of a licensed professional. I have 25 hours a week for 6 weeks. And so the school will be open from 9 to 7. The facility will be open, but the classroom time is from 9 to 2. And the curriculum is broken up into threes: part one, part two, part three. And so part one is like theory, mostly book work. That will be in the classroom. Part two is the demonstration of the braiding, the twisting, the weaving. And then part three is where they won't be in the classroom at all. They'll be in a salon. What you all are reading is when I was going to have a full natural hair school. And I do have the emails where I resubmitted twice the correct paperwork. And then also the time clock corrections were made on the new paperwork. Everything that you all are saying I had corrected already. And that's why I can't find it here. When you're reading off the page numbers, it's not here.
For the board members, for interrupting, for the board members, I was able to locate on page 86 of our documents the 45-day refund statement, so that is there. Wanted to make sure I cleared that up. Okay.
I would also like for you to point to me, and you may have it there, I just haven't been able to locate your graduation requirements, if there are, whatever those graduation requirements are. Okay, we have located it. It's on your page 15. I just hadn't located it earlier.
Um, the opinion that I hold right now, I think while there's some definite policy things that we've outlined that are still missing, and I guess I would say that if I recall this correctly, there was another school's information that was included in this package previously,
version-
but so
yes.
this is the new version.
This
that
is
we're
the new
seeing.
version. This is the final version.
Yeah.
In an email, she would have approved. Nothing gets put before you that hasn't been approved by the owner. However, are there further changes she might have made? Absolutely. I go back and forth on repeated approved items with misspellings and back and forth. So there is all that possibility. But I believe the business plan that changes the structure to be solely Ms. Humphreys is definitely in all these documents. If there's anything like the part-time, like you said, that's missing, I don't have a problem with that being sent to me later once we figure out what her final documents are.
In my opinion, the program, once these corrections can be made, is sufficient, I guess. However, I have a strong objection to the asymmetrical learning. This is one application, and so I don't really know how we're going to parse this out. If anybody needs to, as the in-house or other virtual components of this that would have supervision and oversight versus the asymmetrical. Personally, my opinion is I cannot support the asymmetrical portion of this, while I can the rest. So that's my opinion.
Did you state that you were not having any part-time students? They were all gonna be full-time?
Yeah, no, it was just 9 to 2, no part-time.
Part-time.
But it's only 25 hours a week, so technically, I mean, that's not 40 hours. It is part-time, but I wasn't doing any evening
Doing any
classes.
part-time, that's what I thought you.
And I'm sorry, could, the policies that were missing, can you repeat them? Because I think it was a few.
The recording will be available if you're
Right.
more comfortable versus going all over them again. You'll be able to watch the recording where it was mentioned.
Okay.
That might be easier than doing it all over again. And
Okay.
then I'll make sure you've got it too.
Because I'm pretty sure that they're in the paperwork.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Do we have a motion?
Chairman Gillihan, if I could
Yes.
just add, on the virtual, the true online piece, I believe, Ms. Humphrey, you can correct me, you said that you would be adding something or limiting the online coursework, given Chairman Gillihan's concern?
Yes.
Are you saying on that virtual element, the asymmetrical part, where they can just be on there on their own at any time with no direct supervision? Is that the part that you're going to take out,
The asynchronous.
asynchronous?
Yeah, so there wasn't, and I was wrecking the board. I was going through old meetings. I was trying to find all of the bylaws that had anything to do with synchronous and asynchronous learning, and I know it's a new thing. But now that I'm hearing you say that, of course, you would have to have an educator online with them, then I can go back. I may even need to change the platform and how the students will have access to the education or the platform, I'll definitely go in and revisit that and change the policies. So when it comes to
What I'm
them
hearing,
having access to the asynchronous learning.
not putting words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is you're going to remove the asynchronous portion
Right.
for now, so that your program could be approved. Otherwise,
Yes.
okay, so there won't be any asynchronous right now.
Great.
Do I have a motion?
I make the motion that this school is approved based on those changes.
Do we have a second? And we have a second from Mr. Moran. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries with those changes, and I believe your motion would automatically include an inspection.
Building inspector only?
Building inspector only. Okay. Congratulations and good luck.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I will, again, the video is posted, so Ms. Humphries is able to listen to the pieces, and then I'll look out for them and ask for an inspection once that's received. Thank you.
Roxana, I know that you can see over there, some staff can see if Ms. West happens to join us in her travels.
Absolutely. Thank you. We're keeping an eye on that. And I was going to introduce our Assistant Commissioner, Alex, I think had to leave, but Alex Martin had joined us for a brief minute. So if you see him or one of us sees him, we'll take a quick break and make sure to get him to say hello to everybody, but he's been wanting to stop by, and I know I saw him for a minute and then he's no longer here. So we will definitely break if we see him. Moving forward with our schools, on your iPads, our next item, and the last three are new schools. This starts on your page 115. Agape Institute of Osteology. This is a new specialty aesthetic school. Ms. Kim Storms is participating on the call. The school's located in Franklin. You have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. And this school, as you can see from the floor plan, is traditional, not apprenticeship only. I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you very much. Ms. Storms, thank you for joining us. Can you hear us okay?
I sure can.
Thank you. I'm going to give you just a minute to tell us a little bit about your school, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys for having me this morning. So I have over 30 years experience in this industry, and I will be opening up a new specialty aesthetic school. It will be very science-based education. This is a wonderful industry, and I know that there is such a need for this. And I really, really want to set a standard in this industry. So again, it's going to be very science-based.
Thank you very much. I'm going to kind of just move right off into this as I'm looking through. I found your package to be pretty inclusive of most of the policies. My first question would be on your contingency plan, which would include your teach outs. I know that you do have one. My question is, are you already committed? You already have arrangements with other schools? Because typically when we see these, it looks like it's just a policy that you're going to do this. But do you already have a relationship with the school in that event?
No, sir, I do not. However, I do know of other schools. I've taught in other schools, but as of this point, I have not reached out to them per se.
Okay. It takes two to have an agreement there. So the reason I always ask is because it's one thing to say we have it, but if there's not a school that's available or similar, then that can be a problem.
Absolutely. Okay.
In your enrollment agreement, I see that you have your contracted hours and so forth, but I'm not really seeing a specific statement that identifies what the student's specific daily schedule is. Are you doing full-time and part-time?
Yes, sir. I will be doing full-time hours, and then in the evening will be our part-time.
Yep. Yeah, and I see that you have things marked for that. But for the individual student, what I'm really speaking to is that individual going to be there Tuesday through Saturday, or from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon? That information is
yes,
not.
Yes, sir. And it's in our catalog. Yes, sir. It will be 9 to 4:30 for my full time, And then 5:30 to 9:30 for my part-time, which will be 20 hours a week, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, my note did indicate that you did have it in the catalog, but I think that is something that would also be very suited to be in the enrollment agreement, because the
Okay,
student might
absolutely.
look
I'm
for
taking
that.
note of that.
Okay. Your proposed days and hours of operation is a note, so let's see here. Is that on the table you have? No. What days are you open? You're going to be open Monday through Friday, Tuesday, Saturday? Didn't locate that anywhere.
Yes, sir. So I will be open Tuesday through Saturday for my full-time, and then again for my part-time, it will be Monday through Friday.
I'm sorry. If you could have a notation in there in the enrollment agreement for that as well, it would be
Okay,
very
absolutely.
helpful. As with the two pairs of glasses, as with the I can't see out of one eye and the other. With the other schools we've looked at this morning, I think mostly we're starting to see a couple of missing policy things. Your method and your backup method for logging hours for the students, and also how you are going to track your part-time and full-time students and keep those records separate. Those are typically policy statements and things the inspector can look at when he's in.
Yes, sir.
Do
Well,
you
they'll be
have
clocking
that
in and
in here
writing.
that I may have missed?
Sir?
Do you have that in here that I may have missed? Is that something that you?
Yes,
did
sir.
not-
So it's in there in the catalog as well. They'll be clocking in, and also we will take roll, and then they will be doing sign-in sheets. And that will be for my full-time and my part-time as well.
What page is that on your catalog, Ms. Storm?
I'm gonna look at that real quick.
Thank you.
Maybe 132 for hours.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through here. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's yours. Okay, I do see your hours of operation. I do see that here on this page. And I see your daily sign-in sheet. What is your backup method for that? Signing up?
So we will, yes, so they'll do the signing. We're also going to have a clock in and then attendance, like we're going to take attendance. And then it's on page 29 as far as clock in and tardy policy, that they're going to clock in with a machine and of course sign in, and then attendance will be taken as well.
Okay, and this is going to be in person, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That concludes my questions.
Board members, on our page 131, in about the center of the page, there's a reference to another school. This is, sorry, I'm trying to figure out your page number for you. Oh,
Catalog's not numbered.
the
that I can
catalog's
tell.
not numbered. It's the page after holidays and school closings.
Okay,
That
please
very
scroll
next
on that,
page,
please.
the center of the page, it references another school's name.
Let me peek at this, please. Let's see.
What page is that for us?
That is 131.
So I'm seeing the holidays that you're
It's talking
addressing.
about a reentry program. We would need that to be for your school, if that's the reentry program for your school.
Okay, let's see. Reentry program. So I'm looking through my reentry. It's offered by Agape Institute of Bestiology. I don't know if I'm missing something here.
It's in the document where you are listing the SAVE program and the verification for SAVE. That is a document that one of our schools in particular that has a lot of foreign students uses a lot. It looks like that's the sheet and information you use from them. If you, and I believe what Ms. Russell's saying is if this holds true to your school, you will need to make sure that it references your school, not a different
Yes,
school.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will definitely draw my attention to that and correct that.
Thank you.
So are you going to offer the apprenticeship program?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
I'm looking for a little bit of information that explains to the student that during an apprenticeship program, that half of that program would be offered at the school, half of it. You do have that there's a licensed esthetician of 10 plus years. You do have that, but we would need to know a little bit more about that apprenticeship program, the hours of operation for that group, if different than your traditional type student.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So I want to do apprenticeship, but I want it to be structured. I don't want it to be all over the place because I want to set a standard here. So I'm going to offer my apprenticeship to follow the syllabus that we have with my full-time students. That way I can keep up with them. They can check in with me as well as give them the opportunity to follow my part-time curriculum as well. And they will have a student portal that they will be able to sign in and out of. However, I am looking into sending them like out of professional courtesy alerts, perhaps if they forget to, clock in or clock out. But I want them to follow the schedule that we use simply for the fact that I just want to make sure that I can keep in touch with them and we stay very structured and do this right.
Would that program be in-house at the school?
So it will be the first out 375 will be online, and I will let them Zoom in, and then the other half will be obviously in their spa.
So this will be a synchronous program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I think that we just need a little more information under apprenticeship program that lets the student know that it would be a synchronous program and that these are the hours that would be attended by those students and the approximate number of weeks that they would be in school prior to their exam and then placing them with another professional. So just adding a little more information in that area.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that this application's approved based on whatever changes are identified.
With an
Second
inspection,
that. With an inspection. Sorry.
with standard inspection.
Let me second. For the
Oh,
motion.
We
Yep.
have a motion.
And a second.
And who made the second?
Ms. Lemon, I believe.
Thank you, Mon.
And is this with both inspections? This is a traditional school,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with the necessary changes and the inspection with our board member and as our standard inspection. So all in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Board
you.
members, Next on page 151, we will continue. This is a new cosmetology apprenticeship school. Miss Amanda Manigault is participating virtually. This school is in Chattanooga. It is 179 square feet. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were received timely. I will turn this over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you very much. Can you tell us a little bit about your school, please?
Yes, I am Amanda Manigault, and the name of my school again is Black Girl Beauty and Barber Schools. And we are asynchronous.
I forgot to read it all on the record. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. We are asynchronous and synchronous school offering cosmetology, esthetician, manicuring, natural hairstylist, and instructors programs. And we offer 3 different learning pathways. One, which is the apprenticeship learning pathway, the Rise Up apprenticeship learning pathway, and the Rise apprenticeship learning pathway. And those are the programs that we're offering, and our hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And students with our asynchronous program, students can basically attend from anywhere, but they can view instructional materials each week at any time. But all the work is from 9 to 5, which accumulates all their hours. Our apprenticeship program is distance learning for the first half of the program, and the second half is on the job training in a salon with a professional mentor. Our Rise Up program, that is a second chance program for those with mitigating circumstances that may struggle, for one reason or another on the apprenticeship portion of the program. And that is a program that would allow them to avoid failing or avoid dropout. It's just another opportunity for them to continue on with their learning program. And then we have the RISE program, which is the 100% remote program, which we offer through, it is a asynchronous learning program, where the students will be there with an instructor acting as a facilitator 100% of the time, 9 to 5. And that is where the students will have assistance with an instructor during those hours. And that's with all the programs as a support system for whatever questions or whatever material they need during the program.
Okay. Thank you very much for that description. As I went through your package, I had lots of notes here and lots of questions. I'm going to try to be a little more succinct and try to kind of put these things in the proper categories for us. Number one, let's talk about your apprenticeship program. Okay, are you intending to do any apprenticeship in-house, or are you saying you're going to do apprenticeship completely out as symmetrical? I'm sorry.
Right. Nothing will be done in-house.
Okay, so you're going to do 750 hours in-house, and then you will have placement in the shops under the appropriately credentialed professional.
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me where in your package that you have your specific curriculums listed? What pages are your actual curriculum
If
listed
you
on?
go to page 41 in the catalog,
Take just a minute. 216, thank you so much. I see your program descriptions here on the apprenticeship learning pathway, but I do not see a curriculum in here at all.
Oh, you know what? That is.
I don't
Oh.
see any breakdown of your course materials for the actual curriculum, and I think that would hold true for any of the programs as you've described them so far. Okay.
You know what? It is missing. I apologize. I can send that over. I do have that. I think I removed them and did not. I was moving stuff around and somehow I removed it.
So I tell you what, I'm just going to start at the top of my list to avoid a lot of me skipping around here. I don't want to miss anything. Your contingency plan to include your teach-out policies. Can you explain that to me? How are you going to have a contingency plan that substantially meets the parameters of the program you're suggesting to offer? So if everything is asynchronous or synchronous, do you have agreements with other schools who have approved programs for that already?
Currently, I am in communication. We have not finalized the teach out plan yet with the other schools, but I am in communications with other schools and we'll be finalizing that. But the way we have it is that if anything does happen as far as our building and where we cannot no longer offer the instruction, we will satisfy, first of all, the financial obligations. And we will post the information on our website. Any enrolled students, we will notify the students and follow all state and federal laws. And then we will also, first of all, we would like to, if we have students that are on that are in the distance learning program, we would like to move them over to the remote program, which is our RISE program. We would like that to be our first option if that program is approved. And if that program is not approved, then we would like to make our second option would be to go to the agreement that we would have as far as the negotiations with the other school. And that would be with a school within a 50-mile radius. We have located a school about 30-something miles from our school. And so we're looking to be able to work with them to send our students to that school. And then, of course, if that...
Thank you for that. If I may interrupt you just a minute. Really, I think my point here is to the descriptions you have of your programs, the way you have them described. They're pretty unique programs, and I'm not aware of any other schools that are describing their formats and programs the same as you, especially without having a curriculum specifically listed here. So we're going to move right on. In your enrollment agreement, I was not able to locate where you actually had the student's actual specific daily schedule there, so that the inspector would be able to know when a student was to be there. We're not quite listing the number of hours per day or by the week. Have some references in your information about kind of back and forth with the virtual, so I'm not really clear on if a person is in a specific program or able to vacillate back and forth. On page 15 of your documents, 170 for the members, you mentioned the required schedule for the students. It seems a bit inconsistent to me. So moving on down, in identifying all of your costs and charges, which is page 2 of your documents, 157 for us. in that particular instance, as I go through your paperwork, there are many different fees and charges throughout your catalog or some of the other pages here that are not specifically included in that enrollment agreement. So a student might not have the ability to understand exactly what they're coming up with in order to have to be making payments to you. So how are they really going to know what their total cost could be?
I'm a little bit confused. Can you be a little more specific as far as you said the different fees? Because I only, okay.
An example would be you don't have a termination fee listed as a possibility on your enrollment agreement, but farther in your documents you have a termination fee outlined. So all those costs are not identified in the enrollment agreement. Let's see.
So you said there's no termination fee in the enrollment agreement?
I don't see a termination fee in the
On page four that has the table with the fees, is that correct?
yes.
That does not list all the different items, is what Chairman Gillihan is pointing to.
Exactly, that's just missing from that table. Again, moving along. On page 15 of your documents in 170 for ours.
Are you in the catalog or are you in the enrollment agreement?
Well, when I review these things, I look in both areas because there are things that are specific to the state requirements for the enrollment agreement, and then things that are permitted in the catalog. So what I'm mentioning should be in the enrollment agreement.
Okay.
So I'm finding something in the catalog is not consistent in the enrollment agreement is a good way to look at that. Let's see here, page 15 for our members and page 170 for the members. We have a reference to a minimum of 5 hours up to 35 hours per week. I'm really not clear what that is. Is that per program? Can a student simply be in school for 5 hours? The state has minimum requirements for even part-time attendance and full-time attendance, and 5 hours certainly does not meet that standard.
Well, what that says is that's speaking of the community service, because part of our curriculum is students will do 10% of their total hours at community service events, and that's what that 5 hours is. That 5 hours of the 35 hours during a portion of their program will be through community service, and that's how they'll get some of their practice. I can't hear you. You went out.
Sorry. That's really not what I'm seeing in the documents. I understand what you're saying, so I do understand what you're trying to communicate. However, that's really not how, I'm not seeing any kind of definition in the documentation. And since we're on community service, I need you to explain how you see that working for you. What is that? Are you saying that students are going to go out and cut hair or do some service at some event, some other location outside the school?
What I'm saying is part of their program, is that that 10% is I will have agreements with maybe a nursing home, for instance, where students can come on a Wednesday of each week and do services on to senior citizens, and that would be considered a community event that we would offer for students to get practice prior to going into a salon, just to assure that they would, have some type of practice on or prior to the second half of the 750 hours.
So that is a requirement that you're having the students be required to do that sort of externship kind of outside work, is what I'm hearing. Who is going to be supervising those students at the time? What does that look like?
Right. That is not a requirement. That is offered. That is a required, those are required hours. And all of that is, I am the instructor. So yes, I will be monitoring that.
How will you be monitoring that?
I will be monitoring that. We have We have a home base and well as we have e-signature that we'll be using. So all students will be signing in upon arriving, and they will have to sign in through e-signature, and that's how it will be monitored as far as those hours during that time. And
All
as
right.
well,
Chairman Gillian, could I
Yes.
interrupt? Maybe, all right, maybe I'm misunderstanding. So if this is an apprenticeship-only school, the only hours that they do within the school, virtual, you know, using Zoom, in person, are the theory hours. There are no practical hours, none under apprenticeship, done with the supervision of the instructor. Every one of the practical hours must be under the licensed supervising professional. That there's no back and forth. I'm missing something.
Yeah. With the, and you're exactly right, and that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this. With the supervising professional with the 10 years experience, I'm trying to get the information on who is going to be there with those students in a nursing home, as she described, kind of scenario. Who is going to be the supervising professional at that point? Because I think the apprenticeship is...
It's a one-on-one as well.
It's a one-on-one, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is designed to be inside a barbershop or facility with their own workstation, all those gears and that type of thing. So
right.
I'm a little bit disconnected here on how that can work and it's required in her document.
And it does work for the traditional schools, right? The
Yes.
traditional schools do
They
this,
can request
their field trip.
field trip,
Yep.
and then the instructor has to be there with them.
Correct.
And so forth. So there's that mechanism, but as I'm reading this, that's not quite what I'm seeing.
Okay, the way I had it outlined, it was not during the apprenticeship portion of the course. It was during the first 750-hour portion of the course, after they've reached a portion of the theory. That it would be the advanced portion of the theory, and I, as the instructor, would be present with them on that Wednesday when we did. But I can take that portion out and just have the total 750 hours completely online. But that was during that. It has nothing to do with the portion of when they're actually in the salon doing the apprenticeship.
And that's even kind of more confusing. So, okay, let's move on.
And if I can explain it a little bit better, there are 4 levels with my program, and one is the beginner's level. And I guess it would be more understanding if the curriculum was present, and it's not. But there are 4 levels, and the first is the beginner, the second is advanced. In that advanced portion is where I would have included the community service. But again, I can take that portion out and just keep everything in-house there. And then that second part would be the third part would be the when they would do the apprenticeship portion. And the fourth part is where we focus on the state board.
We're going to speak about those in just a minute. We'll get more in depth on those when we get to them. Your proposed days and hours of operation, you list that you're doing this 24/7. So which portion of your program is 24/7? You have an in-house apprenticeship, you have synchronous, and you're proposing asynchronous as well. So
can you tell me where you see the 24/7 at, and then I could get to that?
I don't have the notation on this document for what page that is on.
Okay, so basically the program runs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anything done outside those hours, they can view the material, they can practice, but they're only getting credit for those hours between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. under the direction of an instructor who is available as a facilitator during those hours on the side, whether they have questions, whether we're doing whether they're on bulletin, whether they're doing projects.
Right.
An instructor is.
Can you tell me what page that is on where it says they're not receiving those credit for those hours?
What it says is that classes from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and anything.
Can you tell me what page that's on, please, in your catalog?
Hold on 1 second. Let me go back to the catalog.
Okay. I'm looking on page 14 in your, I guess, your enrollment agreement admission policies, 169 for us, and you do have 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and things like that in here. You also have at the very top of that page, your online classes are 24/7. So your academic support is listed as from 9 to 5. Are you saying that you don't have any academic support or any folks online in a synchronous or asynchronous way after 5 p.m.?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that an instructor is available between 9 to 5. So wherever it says 24/7, and I still don't see that. You said on
It's
the
on page 14 of your enrollment agreement. If you look at the top, I think that's where it's at.
24/7.
Okay, you answered my question. Thank
Right,
you.
and that it's accessible, which means the material is accessible to them. They can view the material, but as far as their assignments and their work and their credit hours, all of that is done between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Okay. In your policies, and it's kind of been a theme this morning, it appears that the schools we're looking at have left out the policies regarding how you're tracking the difference between part-time and full-time students and how you keep them separate.
Okay, we will not be offering any part-time students. All students will be signing an agreement for a schedule of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, if students go below that, then that's another story that we will work out during that time. But we will only be enrolling students between the 8 hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that is should be on page 16. Hours, credit hours, page 16.
Okay, we're going to move on while you're looking these things up. Honestly, I have a couple more pages of notes here. There's several issues. Typically, it's revolving around the Rise Up and a Second Chance, just for us. You have some references to 1,400-hour programs and courses. Is the Second Chance Rise Up program that you list, is that seeking to offer credit hours and credit courses? Because that seems to me to be asynchronous.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The Second Chance Rise Up program that you have listed, it appears to me to be an asynchronous program. So are you seeking to offer credit for those asynchronous hours?
All our all our programs is for course hours.
Okay, so let's move right on then. How are you ensuring in your asynchronous offerings that the student on the receiving end, the person on the receiving end, is actually the student who is registered and should be there? Are you videotaping them? Are you having an instructor watch them?
Right. Our courses are being videotaped all the time, and students do have to be on camera during that time. Students will get credit for the work that they do on the platform, not anything that they do outside of the platform, for the work that they do on the platform and the work that we view on the platform.
So in an asynchronous program, at 3 o'clock in the morning, what instructor specifically is available for the student to access and to be supervising that student. It's a direct supervision requirement for instructors.
Right. When students are on the program at 3 o'clock in the morning or anytime after, that is for them to view material. They're not getting any credit for that time. They're only getting credit for what they sign on the agreement, and that is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Even though they can study, learn, and do all of that on their own time, their material and any work that they're doing between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. is what they're getting credit for. I'm sorry, you went out again.
These microphones are a little weird
Touchy.
today. Let's move on a bit farther, and I apologize to the members. There's just a lot of questions I have in this one. On our documents, page 161, there's references for our members, there's references to 750 hours. And it gets back into this synchronous, asynchronous kind of muddying the waters here on that. On page 2 of your documents, I'm sorry, on page 162 of our documents, the second to last paragraph is talking about 400 hours again.
The 400 hours is in reference, that just states that when a student gets to 400 hours, we will begin to prepare them for state board exam. That is it. That is the only thing that we reference 400 hours for. That's when we start to prepare them for state exam. And again, at 1,400 hours for the practical. That 400 hours is not in reference to anything else with the course. And I think that's where I'm trying to find what page it is for me, where it states. I'm sorry?
Page 8 in your documents.
You said page 8?
Of your enrollment agreement, page 8.
Okay. Page 8.
And it is a subtitle of test rotation.
Right, that's what that is.
Okay. Covered that note. You did say there are no part-time students, is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have reference on page 7 and 182 for us that you only have half-time and full-time students. So that's kind of inconsistent with page 15 and 70 for us in your enrollment agreement. On page 7 of your documents, 182 for us, there's a reference to the minimum age requirements for the school. For members,
go back because I didn't get a chance to address what you just said a second ago about what you said before that.
You've identified, you said you don't have any part-time students, but you've identified half-time and full-time students.
Right, so but half-time is not the same as part-time. And that is, basically anything over 21 hours is considered half-time. I mean, which is full-time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not taking any part-time students, but if a student, for instance, is on a internship and they only do 21 hours that week, that will be considered half-time, but it's still a full-time student. And that's what the half-time is, but I could take that out as well because all our students will be enrolling from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that's just really just there so that when we do our evaluations, we'll know if a student is below a certain, percentage. So I can remove the halftime and just keep 9 to 5. It's really just for my own reference, but I can take that out.
Further, you have a reference, and this one just kind of stuck out as I went through it. You have a reference that lunchtime is mandatory for full-time students, and it's 1 hour. What about somebody who is available 24/7? I think you may have already covered that because you said anything beyond 5 p.m. is not going to be supervised. So,
according to the contract agreement, the hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So anything that they do, again, outside of those hours, they are just viewing the material. They could practice material on their own, and they are aware of that, but the credit hours is only from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Can you talk to me just a moment about your transfer student policies? And my notation is page 11 of her documents, and that is 186 for us. Page
11 on the, we're in the catalog, or are we in the enrollment agreement?
I believe this is going to be in the catalog.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. So basically, we aren't accepting transfer students in, but if a current student decides that they want to transfer from one course or another, basically that's when they would have to, it's almost like reapplying as a new student. However, we will give them credit, 150 clock hours for the, to go towards the new course that they would take. And that would just be covering the sanitation, disinfection, and things of that nature that they don't have to go in and repeat again, but they will actually have to start all over in the new course. But those are just for our current students who may be in cosmetology and may decide, hey, I don't want to go through this whole program. I want to do natural hair. I want to just do a natural hairstylist program. Then they could transfer to the natural hairstylist program, and they can receive those hours for sanitation and disinfection, or those 150 hours, which is the beginning of the course, but they would have to take everything else, the rest of the program all over. Start from the beginning.
I believe you're referring to the general hours that the rules actually explain, and in the rules, it only allows a transfer from one discipline to the other of the general hours for the new program. So if we're using natural hair, I believe their general is 120, manicuring is probably 100, or so they're not the same 150. You wouldn't be able to transfer more to the new discipline than what that particular curriculum has for general hours. Does that make sense? I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes, it does. I will make that correction per each program.
Correct.
Thank you, Roxana. I think we all see that for a student who's trying to enroll here, it may be really difficult for him to kind of navigate those waters. In your enrollment agreement, where you're required to list all your costs for this student, again, this is one of those scenarios on page 200 for us. You have some fees that are listed, reentry fees and so forth. That's not located in the enrollment agreement. It's down into the catalog there. We've already talked about your Teach Out program just a bit. Anyone who would be involved in an asynchronous program, if you had to exercise a Teach Out, there's not any other schools able to offer an asynchronous program right now, so that would not meet a substantial requirement for that. So it might be a complete change in that student's program. Your withdrawal fee is not identified in the enrollment contract, and then as I said in the beginning, there was no specific curriculum outlined for each of these programs. So
I have a curriculum that I can include in the catalog, and I can have that sent over to Roxanne as soon as we end this call.
I'm going to go ahead and pause there and let anybody else that has some comments or questions go ahead.
Board members, on our page 163, I have a really hard time with something that's referenced there. It's talking about this program would be good for someone who has developed a clientele in their home and has been doing that for many years. So they are unlawful at that point, and it alludes to the fact that if you have that clientele at home and couldn't be at school, then you could continue that clientele while you're going to school for licensure, which would be unlawful. And I would have a hard time with a school advocating for a student to have clientele at home. On 163, you do mention test prep. It says for theory at 1,400 hours. However, they would have completed that theory test at 750 hours. I'm seeing multiple places, our 170 as well as our 185, where a student can choose to go to school for 5 to 35 hours. And on 185, it says 5 hours to 50 hours. As an apprenticeship student, it is required that that student would not be allowed to continue that program more than 150% of the hours of a traditional student. So I don't know how 5 hours a week would get that, but it also on our 185 states the maximum number of hours is 50 hours per week, which is more than allowable by our current rules. 10 hours per day, 6 days per week, with a maximum of 48 hours per week.
It's 5 days per week. Can I address each issue as you stated so I don't forget anything, or
well,
do you just...
Thank you for that, and we certainly want to have input from you. I think right now we have a number of concerns that were outlined, and we may have you have an opportunity to address a few of these before we're finished. Let's continue with our members for now.
Okay.
I want you to revisit your scholarship and awards. I'm a little confused as to scholarship and awards. It looks like they're awarded at the end of their program. That's fine, but you might want to go back and revisit that, because you're offering, in one of those cases, a $50,000 scholarship, which would be more than the cost of the program. So I think that's probably just a typo, but you might want to clean that up for your own self.
Okay.
And then, considering that we have no curriculum and you're asking to teach cosmetology, natural hairstyling, manicuring, aesthetics, and instructors training, we have no curriculums for any of those programs, and the wording of this continuously references 1,500 hours, or so it looks like this is all referencing to cosmetology, and we would need to see all of those hours or time allowances updated for all of the different programs.
Yes, I understand. I do have the curriculums for each program separately. As I stated, I can send that over immediately, but I don't know how that got omitted out of there, but it did. So I will definitely get that over to Roxanne. I have separate curriculums for each program. And I will make that correction on that scholarship, because that is definitely a typo. As far as the, you mentioned, I guess you went so fast there. Something about, again, we talked about the 5 to 35 hours, and that was for the community service that will be removed. So that handles that. As far as you mentioned the theory test, I believe, at 750 hours. I think you mentioned that. I would have to go back because I was writing it down, but you were speaking kind of fast, so I'm not quite sure.
Your catalog on page 40 describes the preparation time for the theory as 400 hours, but then it references the theory again at 1,400 hours, which is incorrect among some of the items that Ms. Russell mentioned. So I think they've mentioned several. Ms. Russell, if you could finish up if you don't mind.
One last thing, on our 162, this talks about the Rise Up asynchronous program. It also references in there learning practical concepts, and it talks about that those would be recordings of practical evaluations done on mannequins or volunteers or whatever. But during this time, you would not have practical concepts that were being taught, only theory.
Right. That's definitely during the practical part, because that would be the second half of the Rise Up would only be transferring in as the second half of the program. So that would definitely be practical and not theory. So that is a typo. If it says theory, that would be during the practical portion.
Be unlawful. I think that would be unlawful because the practical is happening under the supervision of a licensed professional, and this looks like, I'm not sure if that happens, I'm assuming in the first 750 hours, but even in the second 750 hours, that would not be allowable, because they should be in a salon working, not in an asynchronous environment, even if it were the salon professional viewing that after the fact. They would have to be in a salon for that practical portion.
Can I address that? The Rise Up program and the Rise program, the second half of their portion is through through that's not done in a salon. That is done in class online. That is a 100% remote offering there. And so what that would be is those are procedures that they will perform on a mannequin through video, during the class, and I would review those styles according to what is submitted. And those are submitted through video, again, like I said, and we have a procedure, a process where they can submit that and I can review that. And that is not anything where they're getting paid. That's just practice that they're doing through video and submitting it through online practice. So the Rise Up program and the Rise is not in a salon.
I would have you go back and review the law on this. So those 750 hours are not practical. So there would be no need for a student to turn in video simulation work to you to view that happened on a mannequin. Those hours would be done for theory applications, not for practical.
Well, that is another way of presenting the program to you, where a student can, because they're not going to a salon, but I will review that again. But if they're not going to a salon to perform those, to get that on-the-job training, that is the purpose of presenting that 100% remote learning program to you, the RISE program. And when you have students that are kinesthetic learners who learn through seeing, touching, feeling, that is a program that I am offering specifically to address the needs, so that every learning style is able to become licensed in cosmetology.
Okay, thank you very much for your responses. Did you have anything else you want to add? Members, did anyone else have any questions or anything you'd like to add? Okay. You've heard the information presented. Is there a motion on this application?
Yes, I'd make a motion to deny until she can get all of her
clean up in order, she can always represent.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny this application at this time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank
And
you.
I have a motion by Patricia Parsons. I apologize. Who was the second? Mr. McElroy. Thank you, David McElroy. Thank you very much. Members, if it's okay with you, we're going to proceed. I know that one of our members has to leave at noon, and I don't want to leave the legal report undone. It sounds like you have plenty of items that you brought up, and this can be represented in June. So with that, we will move on to our last school application. This is starting with page 222 on your iPads. That way everyone has an opportunity to hear the board members' questions. This is Ms. Taquana Dixon. Hopefully Ms. Dixon's on the call with us. This is an apprenticeship specialty aesthetics school located in Nashville. The application, floor plans, and contingency plan, along with the catalog, are presented for your review. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Dixon. We're gonna just have just a couple of notes on this one for my part. In your enrollment agreement, I don't think that we had clear rights and obligations for both parties. You did have some information in there, but I'm not quite sure that it meets enough information for your enrollees, so they'll have a clear understanding of what is expected. In your enrollment agreement, you don't have the students' daily schedules listed, and whether or not they're all full-time or they're full-time and part-time. There's no notation for them to be signed and dated by both the school and the student. In your enrollment agreement, where the requirement is you identify all the costs and charges, again, in full-time and part-time, there's some discrepancies in your information on what the costs may be. All those costs are not clearly identified. It typically falls in that scenario where you have them listed in the enrollment agreement, but somewhere further in the catalog, you're going to have a termination fee or some other small fee that would need to be taken a look at for your enrollment agreement, because all those costs have to be clearly defined there. You did not have your policy on how the students are required to maintain their sanitary code and their the students' role in that process. My note here is to have you explain your proposed days and hours of operation. So what days and hours are you expected to be open?
I was expecting to be open Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
That would need to be in the confines of the enrollment agreement as well, so the student would know exactly when they're scheduled to be there, what hours are open for business.
I believe that's your page 242. See if you agree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do see that, and I had noted that. I do want you to do just a little bit of tweaking to this. It says hours/weeks, but you've got 37.5. I'm not really sure if that was, so it should say 20 hours, and I'm not sure if that adds up to 37 and a half. I think it's actually 35 and a half weeks. But it doesn't say 20 hours, it says 37.5 hours per week. So just
Okay, I can correct that.
It's on page 16 for you. If you'll just make yourself a note to 20 hours per week, and it's 35.5 hours. Or I'm sorry, 35.5 weeks.
You did have your method and backup for logging your hours. However, again, as I said, it seems to be the theme today that no one had the how you're going to, your policy on tracking the difference in part-time and full-time students and keeping those hours separate. Okay.
At this point in time, I hadn't planned on having any well, I guess the part-time is the full-time. That by it being 4:30 to
Part-time class
8:30.
would be the only schedule that you're offering, would be
Yes.
part-time. That
Yes.
kind of clears some of those issues up, then. Thank you very much.
I would like for you to, Ms. Dixon, it's your page 38. For us, it's 291. It says expiration of student credit, and it lists 5 years, while the, it should be 7 years, for the state
Okay.
board, or if they are completed, let's see, it says students and graduates who fail to file for an application for examination, loses hours within 5 years. It is actually 7 years if incomplete, and if they're complete, then there's not a expiration of hours.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions?
I would like to know where your graduation requirements are. I didn't see graduation requirements.
Um, I believe my graduation requirements are in the, I guess, enrollment agreement with the amount of hours that need to be completed.
That's something that can be added if you can't locate it.
Okay, yeah.
I just wanted to make a note that you do need, graduation requirements, on this. And do you have a partner for, your contingency plan?
Could you elaborate?
And perhaps another beauty school or, something like that, that might take your students in the case that you were closed for whatever reason.
Not at this time, but I have been in touch with schools. So, with the approval, then I would, come into an agreement with the school. My plan was to become fully virtual. Um, but
Just in case that's not an option for you to
yeah,
become fully virtual, then you would need a contingency plan that would involve some other option for them. So just get something in place with another school that will, work for your students in case that's not an option for them.
okay.
And that's all that I had as far as notes.
Do we have any other questions or notes from the members? Do we have a motion?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion from Mr. Moran and properly seconded to approve with the usual inspections for this type school. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
And if I could elaborate, we have a motion by Mr. Jeff Moran and a second by Mr. David McElroy. And this is once the updated documents have been received and approved by me. All right. Thank you very much with just a field inspection. Thank you, members.
Roxanne, I believe our commissioner was
Thank
just
you.
outside the door. I think he popped back out.
Thank you so
Believe
much.
that's right.
We will, absolutely, we will call him in, and if it's okay with the board, we will skip to the legal report, because I want to make sure we get all our business done. So, as soon as, Alex is able to say hello, and that's what he's been wanting to do, we will, turn it over to Mike Underhill for our legal report. I'll give everybody a minute then to switch your iPads to legal if we can catch him, and if not, hopefully, he hated that he left, so hopefully we will be able to catch him.
So, thank you.
I am presenting 54 cases today to the board for their consideration and approval. We have 3 represents, 1 barber case, and 50 cosmetology cases. So with that, I will open up to any questions the board may have.
Mike, while the members are taking another glance at this, can you talk to us just a bit about the represent on the barber side?
Sure. And I am referring to item number starting with item number 52. This was a situation where apparently the respondent, which was a school, did not provide a timely response. And in speaking with that particular school, they did show me evidence that they did provide a timely response. So since we can't really do anything much to a file like that, we're just going to place an email in that file. And then go ahead and close that file once the email has been placed in there. Item number 53, this was a situation, and Roxanne and I actually spoke about this. This is a situation where we have 2 separate licensed shops operating out of one room. And when the inspector came in, one was obviously practicing, the other one was not there, and so they were cited for not being present during the operation of the room or the shop. And so that is a date that typically that person is not even operating. So I think under that situation where people are kind of sharing overhead, that would just be a close in that circumstance. And then on item number 54, that's another shop case. The person did provide proof that they had renewed the individual license on the date of the inspection. So with that one, I'd like to just recommend a letter of warning on the expired individual license itself.
Mike, while they're preparing any other questions, just a personal comment on that. I get a lot of calls from shops who are asking in that line of sharing things. You have a cosmetology or a duly licensed shop, cosmetology and barber. The barber is not there on a particular day. The inspector comes in to inspect the unit. Things that have been asked for me, if they put a note card or something on that station, barbershop closed today, just let the inspector know that might be a good practice. That'd be helpful to the inspector. I don't know what the legal aspect of that would be, but I know there are people that may be watching, and if it were my shop and I was doing that for myself and I was expecting to be inspected, that might be a good practice.
Absolutely. And generally, it's as simple as you're not open for business, right? We see the area. But with the salon suite, sometimes the division between the suites is not that clear. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions on any of the other cases presented? With that, we would need a motion to accept the legal report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the legal report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. You did a great job. Appreciate
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. Board members, we will hop back on our full presentation, and we are on the felony section. If you'll give me a minute. I believe it starts at page 324. We'll get everybody a chance to get on board. And these are our felony applicants, which we only have 3 of. So we have applications for examination for Christy Davis, Chelsea McCoon, and April Middlebrook. These applicants have felonies within the last 3 years and or are currently incarcerated. Their request is to take the Tennessee examination. The board members approves an agreed order that legal counsel prepares for a 2-year probationary license. That is our custom. I will let the members look at the records of the 3 individuals. At a prior board meeting, the board had given me the authority to move any individuals that are not incarcerated and either coming in through reciprocity or another school in Tennessee where we have the records. That way they're not waiting in between months for a meeting and delaying their able to get a job and provide for their families. And as such, for this particular meeting, you have Ms. McCoon and Ms. Middlebrook, who have both received the orders, and those orders are signed and returned for your review. So they actually have already received their approved licenses and are approved to work. So if there are no questions, we would need a motion to approve these orders for all 3, knowing that 2 of these have already actually moved through the pipeline.
So moved.
We have a motion seconded by Ms. Lemons to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, members. We do not have any reciprocal applicants. As the board is aware, we have a really wonderful process in place being able to move our individuals. So on your iPads, we have 1 miscellaneous item. Second, and this is, let's get the correct page. Page 341 of your presentation, and this is a request to make an exception to the 7 years to complete the education. This is pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 62-4-123, which states that a student shall have 7 years from the date that the student originally enrolls in school to complete the required courses. Ms. Desiree Green is presented a letter explaining all that has happened in her life from the time she started her cosmetology program until now. She is asking the members to provide her with an extension through October 2023 so she can complete her hours.
There appears to be considerable medical
Right.
evidence in this case. That could be a mitigating circumstance here, so.
And she only asked for October 1st. I thought it was through October, but yes, you have before you her request. And if there are any questions, otherwise we would need a motion to approve the extension and accept all of her hours.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You. Thank you.
If you're here, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And good luck. And it appears we have another school here, so
Yes.
thank you guys for coming.
So wonderful. Okay, next, members, you have a request to waive the need to retest. This is pursuant to Rule 0440-01-.10, which states that an applicant must pay and apply for their original license within 6 months of passing the exams. The board may, for good cause, waive this requirement or allow for an extension. You all have given me the authority to add 6 months for good cause. In this particular case, Ms. Lily Olive Jackson has provided an explanation about her health condition impacting her ability to prioritize and obtain her first license. She passed her aesthetics practical exam on December 2nd of 2020. She is asking for waiver of the exams if we would consider that still timely.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Absolutely. And next, since we're right here, I'm going to go ahead and just let you all have a minute. This is our numbers and the financial information on the director's report through January of 2023. The particular information in front of you adds $13,307 to the reserves, bringing our total at $1,312,928. I will always keep the board abreast of any changes, and obviously we look forward to at least ending in the positive when we hit the June months and have all of our cost backs allocated. So that is most of the information we have. I want us to, if it's okay with the board, come back to that school application. I don't believe Ms. West has joined us. However, if you have any questions and we need to defer it, I want to be able to give those to her. If you think we have the information, I would like us to go ahead and consider her application. Her items start on page 58 of our iPad, so I'll let everybody give us a minute to get there.
As the members are finding their way to that particular file, I only had a few notes on this, and
Okay.
they're pretty much policy issues. Again, my question has been the missing contingency plans. In this case, it's the same. The contingency plan was not there that I could find.
She does have it. You are correct. I don't believe I added it because she didn't make a change from the original. It was a very lengthy plan, but I'll make sure that we include it with this, but she did have that.
And the school's written policy or written decision to accept or not accept transfer and credit hours, that she has a statement in there. It was perhaps just a bit confusing, so if she could take a look and kind of clarify that in her documents, say exactly what she means by that. You know, the requirement for the eligible for plan, she did not have any. I was unable to really discern if she had the correct number of stations in that space. It's pretty hand-drawn sketch there.
And she's only going to be apprenticeship.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yes, that's only apprenticeship.
Having the number of clock hours and the approximate number of weeks is an easy clarification. She had a mention in there, but again, it was not in the enrollment agreement. It's farther in her documents. Her proposed days and hours of operation, that's a very simple thing. Again, it's just not in that enrollment agreement. She's going to be open to UC through Saturday, Monday through Friday, and the hours for the inspector to know when they should be there. The last two have been consistent all day. The backup method for logging hours and tracking full-time and part-time students, keeping them separate.
I had a couple of notes on page 58, her page 2. It says online work through My Lady can be done at any time depending on the student's schedule. So remember that we need this to be synchronous, not asynchronous. So just, I guess we need to find out that this is a synchronous program if it's if she's doing online. They also have a treatment room, and if this is a fully apprentice, then I'm not certain what a treatment room would be for. So also on our page 63, her, page 6, she has her tuition amount, or all the students' payments, and the math doesn't add up. It's about $100 off. The final calculated total is about $100 off, so she will need to correct that, so the student is clear about how much money they will be paying.
For the record, I was getting a page number here from Miss Patricia on the documents that we're looking at. On page 58, this outlines that there's a licensed, it's a licensed tattoo artist and microblading artist that's included in this. So those don't fall under our purview.
Are we talking about, on our page 58 in the middle where she lists
Correct.
all the,
Yeah,
okay.
correct. Our 347 and her 58,
Yep.
I believe.
If I'm not mistaken, I think this is just her credentials,
Okay.
that it's hers,
Right.
that she lists that, but we just want to make sure that the students are aware that,
I get in that.
right.
With regards to the online work on SEMA, and that's a term we've heard a lot today, she is stating that students can, the work can be done anytime. I'm not sure if she's calling that an asymmetrical application or if she's calling that asymmetrical. I apologize. I've got that mixed up with synchronous and asynchronous.
Yes.
It's, I got to get that out of my head. With that in mind, I certainly don't want to hold her up. But with that in mind, I'm kind of comfortable on her answering whether that's going to be an asynchronous or not before we give her a full approval on this, if that's what the board's will is. So perhaps we can have her come back and speak to us about that, or confirm at least that that is not going to be an asynchronous program.
And as well, we'll see if we have a motion, but if she can confirm that her plan is to have a teacher available at all times that will be supervising, would the board be comfortable with those documents coming to me?
Are there any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the board to accept her presentation that's on Roxana's receiving of all the documentation and changes we asked for.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve on receipt of the changes in documentation and verification. It's not asynchronous. Is that okay?
Yes.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I know we've heard a lot. I don't think I have anything else, Chairman Gillihan. I will turn it over to you and the members for anything else that you have.
I'll be very brief. Welcome to their school. What school are you with? TCAT McMinnville. Thank you for driving in, folks. We appreciate that and making the effort. Would like to give a brief report on the NABA conference that members attended. Mr. Moran, David, myself, and Mona attended that. I was not able to stay for the entire process as I would have liked, but we were all there. I think it was well received. Had a pretty good turnout. A lot of states were represented. A lot of good information. PSI was there. We had a few discussions in previous meeting regarding some issues with PSI and some continuity things, and I want to report to the board and my own personal experience that it appears that most of those concerns have been rapidly and well addressed, and I think those little technical hiccups have greatly been improved. Okay, and if I know that watch, I would congratulate those folks for taking care of that right away. Okay. Members? Oil. Okay. Well, we've reached that point where, maybe we don't have to go home, but we can't stay here, so. Would we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody that participated and was patient to wait on us. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Chairman.
For our folks from the TCAT school, while you're here, if you would like, I'd offer the dais up here for you folks to come up and take some pictures and sit around the horseshoe and see what that feels like to look out into the audience. Okay? You might want to get some pictures.
It was a good conference and stuff.